Peace. This is Star with the Star Blooms. So, yesterday I had like a little mix up. I tried several times to make the video work, but my phone ended up dying. And then when I went to get back on, I was just told to table it for the night. So, that's what I did. The message that I was given was the sisters that live within self doubt, which are denial and fear. Now, they don't want me to go back over everything, but they wanted me to basically address a couple of things that were necessary to be able to process it. First of all, why am I sharing this in the first place? I recognize that the more I move into the rate of where I'm supposed to be at, the more the people who help in my ailment of self denial and fear and self doubt. Um, they are basically using old rhetorics to be able to create a community who believes that for some reason I'm something that I'm not because of what I showed up in previously in my condition. The thing that I think that's crazy about this whole thing is that a lot of the times the people that choose to attack your character once you actually have a layer of self-evolution and you begin your ascension are the same people who are sitting amongst groups of people who read rhetorics and believe that the things that are in these documented manifest, all right, are basically the end all be all. When you represent the truth of something that they are in belief of, and you have a knowledge and awareness and understanding of this thing, it becomes something that is extremely triggering because there's this rate of why me. This is why you have to allow yourself to recognize that these three sisters are a hardship that you choose to personalize, okay? To substitute true substance, all right? When you recognize that the way for you to transform in this rate of changing how you communicate, all right, and altering this internal war of unspoken intellect that you feel through what you're allowing to emote through your body, all right, you learn that this way of self conditioning, right, is really in your subconscious mind. So it will speak consciously through you by and with the initiation of trust. All right. Why do you need to trust yourself? Because of the truth. The true degree, all right, is the truth. It's not a rate of being trapped in this space where, and they want us to know that, they trapped our stars, y'all. You know what I mean? And a lot of the times we don't recognize that a lot of the energies that we're engaging with, all right, is really, really the holders of the codes, all right, that we have to find the memory that is divine record of what is eternal within us. You understand what I'm saying? If you recognize that you are source energy, when you show up and occur right in a space meant to encapture you, all right, in true element, you will transform at a true degree. What anchors you in their space of no more as you be your so called becoming. When you recognize that self doubt is really, really this perpetual thing that gets implanted within you. As I said, I believe that a layer of 14.5 is an implantation that happens within the childhood. All right. When you recognize that you get to battle this out without fighting, but overcoming layers of taking on of personal things. That's why when you think about the denial, how denial was the memory of the ancestors and how you get to activate and initiate in this space. You can't really be Delulu when you go down to the root of you. It's some real stuff that gets uncovered. You get to recognize the patterns that you've been in the midst of. You get to recognize also when you're dealing with fear that trust is the only way out of fear. Why? Because it's the truth. Fear is not real. So imagine if you have something sitting at the root of you, if you have something sitting within your foundation, right? that is faulty and inadequate, you cannot trust it because it does not represent what you truly are. When you recognize that you have these things like your ancestors and trust within what it is that your ancestors is telling you, and you allow yourself to gain friendship with your higher self, friendship with your spirit team, friendship even with the ancestors that you are venerating, right? And you embrace that which you are versus constantly being in a rate of wanting to prove the rates of doubt that other people are going to go through. You align yourself with different rates of boundaries because you recognize that being in this overcoming state and of how you are allowing the truth to unravel and unfold within itself, you get to be at a rate of bliss. And true bliss is felt and seen, y'all. All right? It doesn't matter how they group up on you, friend. It don't matter how they continue to keep on lying on your name. It doesn't matter how many people weren't cool, but then all of a sudden are cool because you are somebody that they could go against. None of that matters. It doesn't matter if they decide, okay, well, we're gonna get in this rate and we're gonna go. They getting on me, but this is how I be hearing it. We're gonna go against this person. They don't have these conversations out loud, y'all. Okay, they're very, very intentional of how they will perpetuate things. My grandma kept on calling it the master ding, the master dong. Imagine if there's this rate in slavery where there was always these people that knew what the plan was, and they would sit there and they wanted to be free, but the fear and the denial that set within them that allowed them to be at this rate of self-doubt allowed them to tell on the people who knew how to get out. You got to look at it like this. It's personal when you go on towards yourself. That's why it's self. That's why it's self. It got to be self first in order for me to be in the whole, right? It's personal when you're going against yourself. You start watching these movies and stuff about what was going on back then, and you see the people, all right, and what they would do to the people who call themselves blowing the whistle. You recognize how detrimental it is for you to basically show somebody how to be able to get out of a loop that's been consciously playing on the sub, right? And you've been choosing this in action, going into war within your mind, within your, no. Spirit said, if you recognize that you are true source, I get to get my star back. I get to have this code within me. I'm not going to be trapped in this space. I'm not going to I'm going to get my memory back. When you start to heal your inner child, you'll get memory from your childhood that you didn't even know that you had. You'll start to recognize the things that you was going through was really, really things just for you to be able to overcome so you could overstand some stuff, okay? Be at a rate to where you recognize that these three sisters come as a triangle for you to basically integrate beyond a rate of being oppressed and in spaces that are not just obsolete to you, okay? When you get parts of yourself back and you gather yourself and you start to learn how to be emotionally intelligent, you start to learn how to actually be integral with how you are within yourself. It doesn't matter what people will try to plant inside of you. They'll try to plant in communities. They'll plant in groups. They'll try to go to the places that they know that you might frequent because they're not at the frequency where they could meet you at these places. They'll try to set up lists. When you know the truth and you trust in what you know to be true, it could be a small layer of trust that you have, but you have it. Move forward within that thing. Don't resist what you know to be true. Why? Because the opposite of truth is doubt. And when you sitting in the lower chakras, when you sitting in the lower half of anything, there's so much that can attract and attach itself to you. And if you don't have an awareness of self, you will take on and embody this rate of hardship by personalize it. Substitute nothing for true substance. Stop going outside of yourself to initiate personal gains. Okay, that's what I wanted to share yesterday. I called it a founding day, but yeah, I wanted to share that. I wanted to basically continue that message because I wanted to make sure I got everything out. Peace. I love y'all. Be intentional. Move forward with grace, okay, and ease, knowing that egress is your way. Okay, knowing that the ways that you are calling forth are what you are remembering as you are being in your becoming, because it's not something that is just being made up. This is who you always been. All right. You just have to get all of that murky stuff, all of that debris, all of that residue off of you so you could truly perceive what's there. All right. I love y'all. Peace.